Hello, this is Jenny Lee Secon. Again, today it's another episode for our Soulful Woman's Journey video series. I am very thankful. I prayed and check, who can join me to, you know, share to bring more, information and experiences to our audience. Here we are. Today, I have Wanda Luthman, author and speaker. She wrote 11 books. And also, she's a licensed mental health, counselor, but now she's a school guidance counselor in high school, right? So welcome, Wanda. I'm so thankful you joined me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jenny. This is just a wonderful opportunity, and I'm so happy to be here today.
Yeah, thank you. And it obviously today with Wanda's joining, it broadens our topic and brings it today, to the experiences actually in the past couple of years or even right now many people have or are still going through or have gone through, right? The topic for today is completely process grief and loss. So before we start this topic, I have to share a little bit of the background. Okay, Wanda, is it fine?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I connected personally with Wanda actually from a radio show several years ago. We didn't know each other back then, but just became two different guest speakers talking about the topic of forgiveness. And then, some other reasons we started to reconnect online. But when I knew you from the beginning, it was your books,
Mhm.
so it's like, yeah, you wrote children's book about value, and I helped many adults, but all goes back to their childhood or whatever. So we started, and then we share our stories, personal experiences. But then I heard this amazing story about you. Hopefully, you don't mind. I can, speak, right? Um, yeah, Wanda herself actually lost her husband years ago, and you went through a lot. So
Mhm.
when we talk about this, we just click and resonated because for me, it's a different experience. I didn't have the sudden loss like you experienced and many others experienced or experiencing now. But what I went through, it was kind of a chronic loss because my mother, she got hit whatever, and stayed in a vegetative state for 3 years. So it's kind of like chronic. I felt like lost all the time, any second it could happen, whatever. So
Mhm.
this all is hard or whatever, this topic. So today when we talk about that, we feel like definitely we like to share the nature of it, and also the spiritual part it could bring out from this, because that's our personal experiences, right? And
Mhm.
also we do want to talk about how to completely process what does that mean and why we need to, because finally we really want to share some experiences and bring in some hope and a positive things, right?
Mhm.
So that's why we are here. And I also knew that nobody, I am not either. You said, we are not, like, we are kind of personal people, private people. We don't want to put ourselves there to be a public figure, whatever, right? But
Right.
the thing happened, and you also said you
Mhm.
now finally went through that stage, only had your face to yourself. Right
Mhm.
now, you have the burning desire to go out to share and speak. So that's pretty much me, my personal experience and journey. So that's why we are here. So thank you again. Can I just let you initiate? maybe you don't need to go to the details, but talk a little
Mhm.
bit about your loss and
Okay.
your most powerful, gaining experience from this whole thing.
Okay. Yeah. So, what happened was, my husband, he had lost his brother due to cancer, real quick loss. So he felt the desire to have a grand adventure in life. So he decided he would go on a walk. And this walk he chose was called the Camino de Santiago. And it's a pilgrimage in Spain, and it's about 500 miles. So he trained, and his sister decided she wanted to join him, and they went. And they did not intend to walk the whole thing. They were going to do some buses and things for parts of it, but they were going to walk a good bit of it. Anyway, when he got home, he said, Wanda, I really felt my age over there. And he was 12 years older than me. And I kind of asked him what he meant. And he said he couldn't read the map. And I was like, well, that's a hard map to read. It was tiny and all that. I wasn't getting it. Well, then when he could not get home from somewhere just around the corner, I was like, oh, something is bad wrong.
Yeah.
So we went to the doctor, and they took blood tests and an MRI, and then of course called us both in and told us he had terminal brain cancer. And that was pretty difficult to hear. He thought he was getting Alzheimer's. His mom had Alzheimer's, and he thought that's what was happening to him, but it turned out it was brain cancer. So for him, once he realized it was cancer, he's like, I'm going to fight it. Because these days, when you hear cancer, you don't automatically think you're going to die. You think, well, they have an answer. This, they do not have an answer for. It is called glioblastoma, and it's a killer, and they don't have a cure for it yet. But anyway, we weren't really quite in that mindset. And so that was October of 2018. And he went in for surgery to have the tumor removed. They got 95% of it. I felt like that was pretty good. But he just kept getting worse and worse and losing his abilities and things. And eventually he went in the hospital and didn't come home. He was there for 6 weeks, just deteriorating, not eating and sleeping. It was time. And so the thing was, I had prayed after his diagnosis, and I really felt like God tell me this is not the end. And so I really clung to that. And then it was March. My husband died the end of May. And I felt God tell me the scripture, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Very much emphasis on never. And I'm like, I know, but that's later, but he was
Yeah.
to prepare me because it was,
Yes.
and so the doctor finally sat me down and explained to me that he was dying, and we needed to not do any more treatment. And so I decided I needed to have a conversation with him because they were saying they needed to give him a feeding tube. And I didn't want to put one in and then have to decide to take it out. So I really needed to talk to him, but I didn't know how to talk to my husband about him dying. So I prayed, and it was beautiful because when I went to see him in the hospital, he was away getting some sort of test. And when they wheeled him back in, he said, Wanda, I don't want to do this anymore. And it just opened the door. And I said, it's okay. You don't have to do it anymore. Don't do it for me. And we had a good 30-minute conversation about our lives and our love. And, I asked him if he wanted the feeding tube, and he said no. But the beautiful thing was when he told me, he said, I'm not going to be here much longer. And I said, well, how do you know? And he said, I just feel it. And I said, well, are you afraid? And he said, to die? And I said, yeah. And he said, no, I'm not afraid to die.
Wow.
He said, I know where I'm going and I'm ready. And I cried and I said, you're a
Mm.
man to tell me that, because now I can have peace, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And that, and he died very peacefully with me and his daughter holding his hands, and
Oh,
sister and brother-in-law in
what
the
a
room.
blessing. Yes.
We were all there, and I felt like we had the opportunity to say all the things we needed to say. So it was very beautiful, as it could be, you know,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
a loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was the experience really of what I went through.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this. And we knew it's never a kind of light experience to share this kind of story. And I
Hmm.
also know right now, so many people, I heard so many people, in the past year and lately, different loss or so. And some people
Hmm.
even didn't have that much time
Yeah.
or, whatever, all these kind of challenges.
Yeah, you
And
can't be in the hospital with the person.
yeah.
All
All the
kinds of.
heaviness or whatever. I think, the most difficult part, it's really like we don't understand. My
Mhm.
father back then kept saying, oh, what did we do? Why we should, have experienced this or whatever unfair. Many people could hold on to their anger, resentment to the divine, to God or whatever, but
Mhm.
we would say, it's all human nature, human feeling. It's
Mhm.
okay to feel that.
Right.
So yeah, so it's really hard, but um, I also want to know. Yeah, you pray also, but some other people they also said they pray and
Mhm.
whatever, no answers, or they didn't feel that, something like that. So I would love you, Wanda, to share with us a little bit about the spiritual part. You said you had the face to yourself before. Now you want to
Mhm.
have, you want to speak out, share in public.
Mhm.
So what is that? Can you tell us a bit more?
I had a pastor who wrote a book, and I bought it and I started reading it and realized it wasn't a book you read. It was a daily meditation, like for 29 days. I'd never meditated before then. And he would kind of explain to you maybe some principle, and then he'd give you some scripture, and then he'd give you some questions to meditate. And I
Yeah.
started meditating daily, and for the first time I felt God's love.
Mm. So you it sounds like, yeah, it always happened that way, like
Mm-hmm.
something looks like it's bad happened, but actually it put us really into a transformational journey and
Yes,
experience
yes.
the spiritual awakening process.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
now you're here and you have this spiritual connection.
Yeah.
So I bet, I strongly believe that, this really help you go through your loss.
Yes, for
Like,
sure.
yeah, so because of the timing, so it's almost like, I jumped ahead of you,
I know,
just,
that's good.
just, speak like
Mhm.
that. But I did let you, come back to you, let you finish your next part, about this lost thing and your
Mhm.
spiritual, yeah, thing.
Right. So it really was because I had put that practice into place of meditating and spending that time with the Lord, that I felt like I had any strength at all, you know, and had a relationship. But even still, even with all of that, I still had more growth to do, you know.
Yeah, of
So,
course.
of
Yes.
course, yeah, I mean,
Everybody. Yeah.
but I wasn't even where I needed to be still yet. But when my husband passed like that, where he had total peace, he had accepted, and very 7 months gone from walking
Mm.
a arduous walk in Spain to dying. I mean,
Mm.
how do you come to peace with that? But
Yes.
his faith was so solid that he
Yes.
did,
Yeah.
that spoke volumes to me. That, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
honestly,
Mm-hmm.
that changed my life. is
Okay.
seeing him die with
Yeah. Oh,
such,
yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that changed me. And then the other piece about my life is I've always struggled with loneliness,
Mm-hmm.
and I never really liked being outside of a relationship. And so even getting a
This is only human nature again, right? Yeah, right now a lot of people actually are experiencing that. I think, one
yes,
time we'll come back to talk about that.
yeah, yeah. And
Right?
so
But today, yes, yes.
even my divorce, for
Mm-hmm.
me to leave with
Mm-hmm.
my fear of being alone was huge.
Yes.
That had to tell you how awful it was being with him. And
Yes.
so I faced that um, issue by my divorce. But then my husband, he loved me so completely
Mm-hmm.
that I felt like I healed a lot from
Wow.
childhood
Wow.
issues and
Wow.
things that
Bless you.
made
Yes.
made me
Mm-hmm.
feel like I could be alone.
Yep.
But I still felt like there was a little something that wasn't quite healed, and so I did have to face that and address that after he passed.
Oh
and
yeah.
and so I was able to face that with the Lord and heal that final bit. And so
Yes.
now that
Yes.
I feel whole and I feel okay not
Yeah.
being in a relationship.
Yes, yes, it's a huge thing. That's why, when I came to you, even, when we talked before we start our conversation now, right? I still check with you, are you okay? You feel like we can talk about that because
Yeah.
it's only natural. And you also mentioned you actually went through a kind of process. It
Hmm.
takes time
Hmm.
finally really to heal or whatever. We don't have that much time today. Maybe, the next time,
Hmm.
we will talk from different angle and introduce a little bit more about the steps when we are in, what comes
Yes.
up and how it helps us. But,
Right.
I just want to, bring this up because of the procedure and it's the process you have
Hmm.
to go through. And
Right.
when you say your husband actually helped you, inspired you with his faith, and
Hmm.
then because of your practice
Hmm.
spiritually, and you also have kind of, you also practice and already have this kind of spiritual connection. That's what
Yeah.
I want to point out
Yes.
because no matter because we are Christian, but we are called our callings for us
Hmm.
both to do our work, not really just about only about Christian, about church people, whatever. It's
Hmm.
really more about human, no matter
Hmm.
who we are, Christian or non-Christian or whatever religious thing. But
Hmm.
it every person actually does have these kind of spiritual being with us as
Yeah.
a human. So
Hmm.
what I want to point out here is to emphasize that many people pray or do meditation or do that,
Hmm.
they just still don't feel the comfort, don't
Hmm.
feel the spiritual connection.
Yeah.
So for me, also because of the work I do, I help people to break the trapped emotional pattern. So it's
Hmm.
a lot about emotions and the spiritual planes could
Hmm.
show up in life, as emotions, feelings, the planes, right?
Right.
So, yeah, so the spiritual connection really happens when we could confront our true human nature, our real feelings.
Hmm.
So now we go back to the grief. And I bet the first stage, we feel really, grieved and all these kind of natural at the beginning. And then
Hmm.
maybe, the sadness, grief and sadness are still kind of different. Grief, actually drawing more of our, we feel more, heavier, right? And then, sadness, or some people, kind of depressed, and then
Mhm.
angry. So next
Mhm.
time, maybe I would ask you, did you also, go through this angry part? Because, I personally definitely did. I felt like, why? It's torturing.
Mhm.
I am in this process. And finally, it's 3 years. But when I was in it, I don't know how long it will take.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's really hard, right? So it's just
Mhm.
like unfair, angry, or whatever. So my experience is that, and also many people's experiences, is to really go through these natural steps in the process, just acknowledge and admit and embrace all these feelings. What I want to say is, I saw so many people, they are tough people, headstrong, right? Yeah, of course, they all, have grief at the beginning or so. But then life is too busy, and I need to be strong. I cannot be weak. And we are Christian or whatever. Yeah, we pray, and we don't show our weakness or so. And then
Mhm.
we suppress them, or we just don't process. We just leave it there. And finally, the work I do with many people even don't exactly work on their loss issue. I
Mhm.
work with some other issues, maybe physical symptoms, the heart problem, or anxiety, headaches, insomnia, whatever, right? And then boom, at certain, degree and at certain time, the previous unprocessed grief will show up.
Mhm. For
And
sure.
many people, when they at the beginning to be too strong, help everybody, right? Families, tribe, colleagues, everything, as a leader, especially, logical people. And then after everybody settled, the thing, finally, passed, now they go through the depression stage.
Mhm.
So my point is really here, like, no matter you're a Christian or whatever, Buddhist or whatever, who you are, we are all human, and it's human nature, and it's okay to feel all these feelings. And we could take time to process these different stages:
Mhm.
grief, sadness, depression, and anger, maybe, and finally come out. And you also said, I had this with myself, but I need to deal with the loneliness or whatever with myself.
Right.
Finally go through and come out. So we could embrace it and accept it, and it's okay.
Mhm.
So when we could send compassion and love to the whole thing, and we could be brave enough and real enough to process and let it out, that will be
Mhm.
so powerful finally. So I just want to throw this out. And how do you think, about this
You are
experience?
so right, because I did go to a grief group, and one of the things they said is, in order to heal, you have to feel.
I love that. In order
Me
to
too.
heal, you
You
have
have
to
to feel.
feel. Yes, exactly.
And so you can live in your head, like you said, or push it away, and that's just going to bury it. You have got to feel all the feels. And there are certain stages, sort of the numbness, the denial that
Yes, yes,
leads to,
yes.
sadness and
Yeah,
depression, to
yeah,
anger and
yeah.
other things. But there's myriad of emotions that go
Oh,
with grief.
oh, yeah.
You might have guilt. You
Yes,
might have,
yes,
like I dealt with loneliness, different things that can come up
yes,
that like don't fit into the little stages that, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross studied and wrote about,
yes, yes, yes.
there's a myriad of emotions, and it's important. What you said is so true. It is important to spend time with those feelings and don't push them aside. Sit with them,
Yes.
sit with those
Yeah,
feelings
be
and
real.
allow yourself to feel it. It's not comfortable. You don't like it. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes those sad feelings
Yes,
or the
yes,
mad feelings. We want to
yes,
be happy and joyful, but
yes,
we have to sit with those really difficult feelings in order for them to heal. We have to face them and be true.
yes.
Absolutely.
And especially and out there right now, we have so many tools actually we could
Mhm.
use. And also, yeah, many people again come back to the praying state, okay,
Mhm.
meditation state. Many
Mhm.
people do it still from our headspace if
Mhm.
our spiritual being is disconnected,
Mhm.
and then we still cannot be healed. And you know, adding more, emphasize on what you said, you have to feel so that you can heal. It's really like when we successfully suppress our feelings, actually uncomfortable feelings like grief or so,
Mhm.
we will actually also suppress or disconnect us from the wonderful pleasant feelings like joy, peace, and
Mhm.
freedom.
Yes.
We will be disconnected as well because
Mhm.
I do my work. I have this, experiences again and again from almost every single person and from myself. Our human emotional power center is in our heart, and
Mhm.
it is the place where our human feelings meet our divine
Mhm.
love,
Mhm.
peace, joy, and that kind of feelings. So
Mhm.
if we don't confront our real feelings and let them out, so it's jammed. It's almost like, jam or whatever stuck inside. That's why we are disconnected. And when we
Mhm.
are disconnected, we don't want to go out because I'm too, like depressed or whatever heaviness, inside of me and loneliness. So we don't go out, don't want to go out to disconnect. Give us
Mhm.
time, give us the space and the way to heal. So finally, we just have to reconnect with our feelings, feel it
Mhm.
so that they can go, and
Mhm.
then we heal, and then
Mhm.
we can reconnect with the divine love
Mhm.
and all these wonderful wonderful feelings again. And also through the whole thing, now we know we are meant to experience this for some
Mhm.
reasons. For every person is different. So
Mhm.
for me, I went through the whole thing. I learned that I need to obey,
Mm.
surrender.
Mhm.
And that time period actually was the time finally came out from the corporate world.
Mhm.
I pushed myself too hard and I didn't have time to take care of my own well-being. And
Mhm.
because of my mother's, kind of situation, 3 years, I got sick myself.
Mhm.
So physical symptoms came up and I had to stop, slow down, and really confront my truth as who really I am.
Mhm.
Found out my purpose, and I did hear many years ago. Before that, I heard a voice in my head, and my God said to me, "The world needs healer." Whatever. I said, "Oh, okay." What? What does that mean? I didn't have idea. So
Mhm.
finally, I knew, and we people had to go through this and learn the lessons, go through the transformation, and finally we came out. You see, we are here doing the work, sharing this and help others. It's our calling, it's our soul's purpose. Now, when we are doing
Mhm.
it, we just feel like so aligned.
Mhm.
And I'm not a public person either. I didn't like to go out to be seen, to talk, da da da. But when I'm doing this, talking with you, I just don't think even about that. I'm just being me, and you are the same, I bet.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
a lot of the divine purpose, the lesson through this transformation, journey,
Mhm.
process again.
Right.
So yeah, and I want to add, our time is passing again, but anyway, I really feel like I want to add something. You mentioned all kind of feelings. I felt like when I support people, finally their grief experience from the past to show up, I also found subconsciously for some people, because of their feelings back then, they
Hmm.
even didn't know they got shocked in those moments, and those
Mm.
feelings got frozen there. They even
Yeah.
didn't know, and subconsciously they even didn't want to let it go. Some people almost feel like, if I let it go, then I will lose the connection with my loved ones, and
Yes.
then I cannot love them anymore, or maybe they will not feel me anymore. Or some people, just like you said, guilty. Maybe something happened, they thought it's their fault. Oh, if I could have done this, if I could have done that, then it won't happen. They just got stuck in that kind of feeling, the guilty or whatever, those kind of, state.
Hmm. Yes.
So we
Yeah.
got to, go there to let them out and
Hmm.
heal.
Hmm.
So that's pretty much, I think, we can only touch the basic stuff today.
Yes, yeah. I
So
wanted to add really
yeah, sure,
quick, because
sure. Go
I
ahead.
think this is where
Yeah.
you were headed. A
Yes.
piece of our healing
Yes.
and connection with God and the divine is for us to get to know ourselves. I
Yes.
think
I
it's
love that.
tandem. I think we get to know God as we get to know ourselves,
Yes.
and I think you were kind of saying something like that. I just wanted to sort of bring that
Oh,
out.
thank you so much. I do believe it's so important. Actually, all my work is about that. Finally, finding your authentic self, knowing who you are. It's such a big topic. We need to talk forever, I think.
Yeah.
So definitely, yeah, it's so true. Through the whole transformation, soul's purpose or whatever, but it's really the journey for us to finally know who we really are and what we are meant to do, why we came here in this world. And when
Yes.
you
Yeah.
have all these answers, of course, maybe never 100%, but when you are getting, going further and further on that journey, I just feel like my whole person, my whole journey, and even my family, my relationship with others or so, it's just transformed. And I'm
Hmm.
so thankful. And under this challenging situation right now, still in the world, I would just have to say I do have the peace and joy.
Hmm.
From those little things, and I also have the hope. You know,
Hmm.
definitely know that we are not just by ourselves, lonely by our own. We do
Right.
have this powerful spiritual, power there.
Hmm.
We can
Hmm.
connect, we can
Connect with.
borrow to
Hmm.
guide us in life.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
so much for pointing
Beautiful.
that. Yeah. And
Hmm.
we don't have time, to talk more. Thank you again, Wanda. Especially, I appreciate you shared with us your personal story like that,
Hmm.
like you said. And I guess, we have to come back. So so thank you also everybody you are watching now or you will watch later. And in case you feel resonated and want to know more about Wanda and me, Jenny, and our work, we will put the link there for you to know and connect with us in case you want to. So I think we will come back next time, maybe next month in March.
Great.
We
I'd love to.
talk about the next topic. And please
Hmm.
also let us know what is your challenging situation and what you want us to talk about and support and share more resources, insights, and information. Is it okay? We just call this today now for now. Wanda,
Yep. That sounds good. It's
thank
been
you, thank
wonderful.
you, thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. Bye for now. We'll come back to see you again
Bye bye.
soon.